forgot about the greater picture, which was actually becoming professional footballers and doing it on the big stage. We were so focused on this small little area where it was just me versus him, and it was bad. And I think from there, like, I after that experience, I was like, I'm never gonna do that again. I'm never gonna try and compete with someone. I'll always just keep my eyes on the end goal, which is what I want to accomplish. And if that means changing myself, I'll do that rather than compete against someone else. Why do young people from these communities want to get involved with things such as drug dealing, or want to get involved with things such as rap or football? And it's because of the lifestyle that it brings with it. Now, the lifestyle as of a developer or machine learning engineer is not exciting. I think it's about to become exciting because of the way remote work is going to be. I think a lot more people are going to realize that I'm a bit more free to do what I want. And that might start to appeal to people, but it's not just about selling people on the money. If you want more young, underrepresented people to get involved with fields such as like technology, you've also got to sell the lifestyle to them. You should try to brainwash yourself, of course, positively now, not to do crazy things, to do good things. And if you're not doing it, someone else is probably at least knocking on your door.
Welcome to the Richmond Alake Podcast. This week, I'm speaking with Kurtis Pykes. Kurtis is a freelance machine learning engineer and AI technical writer that is self-taught himself machine learning. He has written over 300 articles on the subject of machine learning and data science. He has a prolific presence on both the Medium blogging platform and on LinkedIn. From this conversation, we touch on all the roles he's played, such as a postman, a preacher, a fighter, a footballer, and now a machine learning practitioner. He's an individual that plays to his strength and tries to avoid competition with others by looking for a creative way to differentiate himself from the crowd. So, I'm Richmond Alake, and one person at a time, I'm exploring the stories of the humans behind AI and data. I hope you enjoy this conversation and come away a better practitioner. Thank you for listening. It's very good to have you on my podcast, Kurtis. I'm very excited for this conversation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've written over 500 articles on the topic machine learning and data science.
Oh God. I would say it's closer to 300 if I'm going off head.
Wow.
But if you include like clients, platforms, then maybe let's just say it's closer to 300. We'll leave it at that.
I'm going to give you a bit of a revelation there because we both write on the Medium platform. And you might not know this, but you're one of my rivals. I always look at how much you're posting out and I'm like, I need to.
Oh man, sorry. That's bad then, because I'm looking at you thinking, oh my days, how do I get more claps? I need people to cheer me on more, like how they do for Richmond.
Yeah, your frequency of posts and the quality is so good. I want to ask, what made you start writing about machine learning and data science?
Great question. I was working as an intern, ML engineer at a company, and I used to often speak to my manager about certain things that I was working on. And sometimes I would struggle to explain myself when I'm talking. And he was just like, do you know what, Curtis? It's clear to see that you understand what you're saying. But when you're now trying to pass that on to someone else who's probably not as clued up as yourself, you do have some difficulty. So why not try writing this thing down? And I was just like, do you know what? Well, if it helped me, it will help me, So I'm definitely going to do it. First, he started suggesting things like, why don't you try out this or try out that, try out this? And then I just started Googling and I found out that I can write on Medium and get started straight away. So I was just like, all right, cool. I'm going to start on Medium. I didn't want to do any setup or anything like that. And I just started and we're here.
So I'm going to talk more about the writing, but you mentioned you are a machine learning intern. How did you get that internship? How did you go about getting your first professional role in machine learning?
That was my first role in tech. I've never been in tech. That was my introduction to tech, and it was a complete accident. I went to an event and I sat next to the guy who ended up becoming my manager, the guy who I was just talking about. And he was just snooping at my laptop. Like he was looking at what I'm doing all the time. And he would get stuck on something and I would help him out. He saw that I had like a lot of repositories already in my GitHub portfolio, like in my GitHub profile. And he's like, "Oh, so you program already?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just learning and this is what I've been doing." I showed him some of the stuff that I was working on when like we had some free time. And he was like, "Man, this is cool." Like proper interested. And he took my number. I didn't hear from him for about 2 months after that. And randomly I got a text, "Hey Curtis, are you busy on Monday? The CTO and one of the co-founders want to see your project that you showed me." And I was like, "Yeah." I went in, showed the project, and they was just like, "This is interesting. Like, how much do you want?" I'm like, "What?" At first, I didn't know what they were saying because I didn't know it was like they were looking for someone like myself. So eventually the pennies dropped and I was just like, yeah. And then from there we've just like spoken further and eventually I was working as an intern.
That is a very good entry into the tech world, as in you skipped through the sort of the competitiveness of the field.
Oh, I'm not competitive at all. I always try to move around that. Like, okay, that's a lie. Because I've been an athlete, meaning that there is some sort of competition in me, but it's not to compete against other people. I don't do well in that arena. It's just when I feel like I'm the only one competing against myself, I feel great. You can't beat me, sort of thing. But against other people, nah. I would always try to skew the odds so it's always in my favor if I could.
That is a very good approach. And why did you go to that meetup that led to your internship? What's the story behind that?
Okay, right. So I felt like I was in a dead end in my learning. Like I didn't know what to do next. And I'll talk to one of my colleagues went in the post room because most of our day in the post room was just like we just it was just loads of downtime. And then like, at random intervals during the day we would have like high volume of posts to send out or something like that. But most of the day we would just be working. And I was just complaining to him, telling him, "Oh yeah, I've done this, I've done that, I've completed this, I've completed that." He was just like, "Why don't you start going to conferences?" And I was like, "I don't know where to find them." And he was like, "Look, check this out. There's something called Meetup." I literally signed up. I was like, "What?" Started going to all these meetups. And then I think that was probably like my third or fourth meetup that I went to. So it wasn't like I just went once and got lucky. Like I'm not the most social person. So you're not going to see me out and then I'm going to try and talk to you or get to know you or exchange business cards or something like that. It just happened. It was just like, yeah,
It was organic.
it was
Okay.
organic, right?
Okay. So why was your first sort of role an internship role and not a full machine learning full-time role?
Right. Um, the company was so great, but this was their first exposure to machine learning. As in, they had heard a lot about it and really, really wanted to build a team and get involved. But I feel like at that time there was lots and lots of hype going around, and they kind of just didn't want to miss out. So, without trying to sound like I'm discrediting them, they're a great company and do what they do extremely well. None of us knew what it really took to get into machine learning or to introduce machine learning into a company. So I kind of was just like doing anything, if that makes sense. If you asked me about what my workflow was on a day-to-day basis, it was probably nothing to do with what a real machine learning engineer would be doing. Even though there was some machine learning things that I'll do, like building some proof of concepts and stuff like that. With my intern title, I had very limited power to, drive decisions or anything like that. So it was always quite a small thing. Um, but I learned so much there. It was a great company. I met some cool people, and I think it was the best way for me to get introduced to tech. So, I mean, even though I didn't get to do the machine learning that I hoped I would have done, I definitely got some of the best exposure into the field and met some really cool people that I'm still in contact with now. So, yeah.
It all worked out. And there's something you mentioned where you said you got stuck in your learning, then you went to go went to conferences. What do you mean by you got stuck?
Okay, so I don't know if this happens to every learner, but for me, it always gets to a point where it's like, I know this now. You can't, I can actually do it without having to search for it anymore. And I felt like at that point, I was no longer learning. The fact that I can do things without having to search for it only when I'm told to do it. I
Mm.
was like, okay, there's something up now, because there's going to be problems that I'm not going to be told the answers to do, like told the answers to, and I'm going to have to solve them. So just to give you a scenario, if you think about, do you know about Code Academy?
Yeah.
Right. On Code Academy, for example, they might give you a project, and in the project, it will say, I don't know, insert a table here. I can insert a table. You didn't need to tell me how to do that. But if I'm working or on a project on my own, I wouldn't know that I have to insert a table here or insert, like, I know that's a proper bad example, but in general, that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't know when to do certain things. And I just felt stuck in that respect. Like, if you told me what to do, I can do it. But when it came down to building things on my own, I was just like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
And how did that affect you as a self-taught machine learning practitioner? Because that is a key thing, knowing that, having that self-direction.
Gosh. I mean, I felt like I just was never gonna get it. It felt like there was so much to learn, and then that's when the excuses like, "Oh, I should have went to uni, I should have done college, and I should have done this," started to come in. And yeah, I guess seeing loads of other people on social media didn't help either. So I kind of dissociated myself from the whole social media scene anyway. Even though I'm pretty active now, the truth is I'm not as active as you think. I schedule everything and literally turn it off. But I used to see a lot of people doing stuff, and I'll just think, how come he was able to learn this in 6 months? Or how come she was able to get a FANG job in 6 months? And in 6 months, I'm still like clueless of what to do. And when I turn it off, it was when I turned off all of those channels and other things that was kind of like, impacting my thoughts at the time. I guess a lot of pressure just came off, and then meeting other people that would share with me what they done when they was in a similar situation, like from in these conferences, it helped a lot, I guess.
In hindsight now, do you wish you probably went into more of a boot camp sort of situation or uni, or are you happy with the path that you're taking?
She's a weird one because I don't know if I'll be doing what I'm doing now if I went another route.
Mm.
And I'm really grateful for what I do now. Um, Maybe a boot camp would have been good, because I know that, like, I've seen a lot of people go from boot camps and do extremely well. Maybe going to school would have been good, because so many people take that route and do extremely well. But I'm happy with what I do. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've been able to, get from doing what I've been doing. So I guess it it worked out, in some way, in some strange way.
It's, and right now you work as a freelancer, machine learning freelancer.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what exactly I do. I say that because I don't know if there's a title for it. Like, it's really hard for me to categorize what exactly I do, because I do a few things in so let's leave it as I'm a machine learning practitioner. But if we was to really explain what my role was, you can think of me like a developer advocate who's not working for a company. So yeah, I work as a freelancer doing that sort of thing.
That is so cool. So you're a developer advocate for the field of machine learning for the,
Right. Perfect. You can think of it like that. I think that's a better way to put it.
that, and you're the first person that's had that job title. So
Because I made it, innit?
the developer advocate for machine learning, and that for the entire field. That's what, because you put out a lot of articles, at least 3 a week. I'm subscribed to you, like your notifications on Medium, and the articles are very detailed. And you're talking about Python, you're talking about all machine learning concepts, data science concepts, and they're very good. And they're articles that you can save and refer back to. and I'm always impressed by the quality. And I'm like, how does he have the time to do this?
Yeah. Um, I usually get that question, and I always say to people, try not to compare yourself to me because I don't work. Like, okay, wait, no. I work. This is my job. My job is, what did you call it again?
Like an advocate.
For machine learning, right? So
Yeah.
my job is a developer advocate for the field of machine learning. So my 40 hours plus in a week is solely dedicated to that. I am not in a company 9 to 5 working a job doing X, Y, and Z. So I have a bit more time than others to write and to really research things, whereas some people would only have like an evening or something like that. So if you're trying to compare like latency with me, like how frequent I am, it'll be tough. But you could probably get more in depth with experience, like how it really is on the job than I could.
But still the quality of what you're writing is still there. There's
Yeah, I mean, again, because like I don't, not that I don't want to do things wrong. I've done things wrong in the past and I've been called out for it and it was awful. But I also don't want to misinform people, mainly because I would hate if someone misinformed me. So I really try my best to dig in and take in what is being taught or what I'm learning or what I'm hearing from other people and try and articulate it in a way that is accessible to anybody.
Yeah. And when you say you've been called out, it was that on the Medium platform, like in the comment section?
No, I don't see my comments. I can't. No, I don't watch it. I was called out on LinkedIn. I shared something. I think I said something along the lines of, it was just assumptions about linear regression. I made some assumptions. I wrote in my article some assumptions about linear regression, and the stats police on LinkedIn caught me, and they were like, "Yeah, no, so crucify this guy." And so everyone just started getting at me. I changed it, and I reached out to the guy that initially called me out, and I was just like, "Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Like, what's better resources that I could use to study?" And he shared some links and he was just like, yeah, try not to use this website, use this website. And I was just like, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. That's it. But
And
in the moment, it was like, ooh, because some people were like, yeah, this is why you shouldn't follow people on Medium. These people on Medium can say anything. They chat rubbish. They do this. No, those didn't. I was just like, oh, shit.
I've had people correct me on Medium, and they're usually like code corrections. Maybe I get something wrong, or maybe I miss out on numbers, or I've maybe not copied something from the research papers properly.
Right.
But comments on Medium can be helpful. Outside of Medium, either Twitter or LinkedIn, people are brutal. Brutal.
You see, like I said, I like to look at it as no one's got anything bad against you. People just really want you to be better. When you look at it like that, you brush off the bluntness in however someone puts a message across. Hence why it was easy for me to reach out to the guy that called me out and just be like, so what would be better? Some people are proper bums, like bumholes. And they are trying to be like they're really trying to be mean. You get? I thought I'm trying to keep my words PG. They really are trying to be mean, and you just ignore those people. If someone's gonna criticize you and not offer you constructive like feedback, then there's no point listening to them. Man.
That is true. I want to rewind and
Right.
take it back. Why data science? Why machine learning?
Right. I really wanted to learn a skill that wouldn't require me to be physically involved. Everything I had done in my life until that point was very physically demanding. At first, it wasn't like data science or machine learning or anything like that. At first, it was just, I'm going to learn how to program. And one time I was doing my walk, I was walking, we call it a walk when you're doing your post deliveries. So I was doing my walk and I was listening to a podcast that was like a Q&A session with Bill Gates. And one of the kids asked him what he would be doing if he never founded Microsoft. And he said something along the lines of, yeah, he would be an NLP researcher. So I started looking into the field from there, and I was like, okay, so the skills I'm learning already kind of pushes me in that direction. So let me just continue on.
I always say most of machine learning is about 70% software engineering. So the transition into machine learning was so easy from the coding perspective, not the theory part.
Theory.
Because you mentioned the fact that you felt blocked when you were going through your self-learning.
Yeah.
I tried to self-learn and I bought like a massive machine learning book because I thought it's a difficult thing. So I need to buy a big book to reflect the difficulty of it. And I couldn't understand what was in the books.
I done that as well. I made that mistake as well.
Yeah.
What I done was I would see someone post a book online and be like, this book is the book you need to read. So I bought one book. I think it was called not to criticize the authors, they probably wasn't trying to target me. But the book was called something along the lines of Understanding Machine Learning, and is a super academic book. And like I tried to read it to come across like I'm smart or something. I don't know what I was trying to do. And I just lost interest. I couldn't read the book. It was too hard. And for a while I was like, just like, no, I can't do this. And then I came across the hands-on machine learning with scikit-learn and TensorFlow, and it was like, this is all you need.
That is the Bible.
Yeah.
I've come across a lot of machine learning practitioners that always go back to that book. I've got the 2 editions of that book in my library here, and that book is robust. It takes you from the data science to the deep learning part of things, and a 3rd edition is coming out soon as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of stopped that the 1st edition, but that book I would always recommend it as the first book that someone should buy if they would like to learn machine learning and data science.
definitely. I've been in this field for about 2 years and a bit, and I find myself going back to that book
Yeah.
every so often. And let us talk into the complexity of the field, or the perceived complexity of it, because from the outside looking in, it looks like, wow, only really clever, smart people can do this. But when you're in, you start telling everyone like, man, everyone can do this. Everyone needs to do this.
Yeah. Do you know what? I Of late, I've taken a step back and looked at my stance and seen where I've come from. And I'm like, do you know what? Kurtis, give yourself some credit. What you've done is pretty extraordinary. It's not easy. It is difficult. And it will take some serious determination to learn the concepts in the field. But you don't have to be a genius.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't get into college, not that I didn't get into college. I barely went. When I did go, I went to like maybe 4 or 5 years late to study accounting. So nothing I've done it correlates with anything like this. It's just, if you really want to do it, then you can do it.
So the difficulty is not necessarily in the field itself, but the difficulty is from the determination you have within yourself to
Yeah, I guess. But this is the thing, though. You see, I really would want to know more about like how people's brains are wired, because I genuinely feel like some people's brains are just not wired to do math. Like, I don't know. Um, Fortunately for myself, regardless of the path I took, I was decent in school. Like,
Yeah.
I got very, very good grades, but it was because I knew that I kind of had to do it for my parents, give them something to brag about, because I personally wasn't interested in like academia at all. I just could do it, if that makes sense. I knew that I was able to pass, so I just passed.
Yeah.
But if I really wanted to put effort into it, I would have done a whole load better. But I just wasn't interested in academia, so I decided to go a different route. But for some, maybe it would be easier for them, or no, for some, it may be harder for them to learn because maybe their brain is just not wired. But I don't know. Like, when you're doing it, it's easy to say, yeah, anyone can learn, but I don't know.
I do understand where you're coming from. From when you're doing it and it seems so natural to you, you think,
Yeah,
"Oh, everyone should be able to do this because it comes so easy to me."
right.
I want to talk about your visibility within the machine learning field as a developer advocate for the field. That's your new title now. Developer advocacy is an up and coming role that a lot of I've seen a lot of machine learning practitioners that reach a certain level go into, mostly content creators. And it's a very, very, I've heard it's a very lucrative role, and it's so new. There isn't any sort of figures online as to what you could earn or what companies are paying for it. But I'm going off topic. And let me bring it back. So as a developer advocate for the field of machine learning, you have such a high visibility on LinkedIn and on Medium. What benefits have you gained from this sort of visibility?
I haven't had to apply for jobs for the past almost 2 years now. Opportunities that are quite lucrative come my way on a regular basis. And fortunately, I don't have to work that hard to get it. Well, I say I don't have to work that hard to get it, but I do, because all of the things I'm doing together is what's building it. But to me, it doesn't really feel like work. This is what I want to do. So build a presence online. Long and short of it, build a presence online. It would really simplify everything for you. Like I said, I don't like to compete in the regular way. Like, I don't want to be sat there with 10 people trying to tug at something. If there's a way for me to create a lane where I can only compete with myself, I will. And I feel like this is what I've done with my current career, like what I'm doing now. And my social media, as in LinkedIn and Medium, has had a significant role to play in that. I didn't deliberately set out to do that in the beginning, but that's what's come about from it. And yeah, if I get to talk to anybody in the field, one of the things that I would always say to them is take time to build a social media presence, even if you are introverted. I would consider myself to be an introvert, but there's a way you can do it where it won't really be that hard. Just like I said, I schedule everything. If I sat there's some people that I see that would write like a whole paragraph on LinkedIn. I'm just like, you know what? I respect you, because I can't do that. And you don't have to. So definitely take time to build a social media presence
How early should we start building this presence?
when you're learning.
Okay.
There's people that say like, okay, I'm not going to share anything because I want to become a Kaggle Grandmaster before I start sharing things. And I'm just using Kaggle Grandmaster as an example. It could be I'm not going to share anything until I get a job. And as much as I hear where you're coming from, you want to show the polished product, you're also kind of ignoring a whole community of people that are on a journey and want to follow your journey. They don't want it to seem like you just popped up out of nowhere. Like, they want to understand where you came from and how you got there. Almost like I was a part of your rags to riches story. And when you just kind of skip that, you're depriving people of that experience. So if you're learning something new, I personally would say you've learned something, cement that knowledge by writing something about it, or talk to someone about that. Share a post, write something about it, just to show people you're super interested. Again, one of the reasons why some people would reach out to me is because to them, and by looking at my social profiles, they'll think, wow, this guy is super invested into machine learning. Like, he really likes what he's doing. And that's because I'm writing about things that I'm learning and sharing things like that. And the truth is, I'm not doing it because I'm trying to show anybody that I'm interested. I'm doing it because I'm trying to learn. But these are like the byproducts of sharing early on in your journey. So yeah, definitely. If you're learning something new today, share it today. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be someone behind you.
And it's almost like a portfolio once you keep writing these articles or this blog post.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something I want to touch on. You're talking about your journey. Where are you going to in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
Oh, oh.
Sorry.
You know, it is a difficult one to answer, because if you asked me 2 years ago when I was working a job as a machine learning engineer intern, I probably wouldn't have told you I'll be working as a freelance. I probably would have told you I'll be a senior machine learning engineer. I kind of just go with the flow. When wherever I'm swayed and wherever it goes, because if there's some senior people that would tell you that sometimes Curtis reaches out to me and he will say stuff like, oh, um, how do I get this job? Or I want to apply for this job and do this. And it's almost like it's out of character for me. When I'm just doing what I'm doing and finding ways to expand and build on what I've already established, things happen more naturally. When I'm trying to like, because I'll be honest with you guys, there's been so many times when I've just wanted to go back into full-time work. And that's not because of a lack of money or anything like that. It's just that security of knowing I've got something coming in and I don't have to learn this by myself. There's less responsibility on me because I've got a teammate who's going to need me to be up to a certain level, and he would probably is in his best interest to him for him to invest in me to get up to scratch so that we can, deliver this project. When you're by yourself, it's all on you. You kind of have to be that guy who's on your own case, pushing it. And sometimes it's just like, I can't do this. But in the long run, like, I don't know what I'll be doing in 5 years. Let's just put it like that. I think if I continue to go with the flow and, allow things to continue happening organically, that's where I get the best results.
Okay. And where I've seen a lot of content creator like yourself, mostly on YouTube, where they take their career to within a couple of years of creating content, is they start going into conference. They start getting invited into conferences to do some keynote speaking. I know you said you're an introvert, but do you see yourself ever speaking to hundreds of machine learning practitioners about machine learning?
I've done keynotes,
Man, okay.
I've done some keynotes. Yeah, I've done keynotes.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, everything is easy to do behind your computer screen. So it's not a problem. And then also something that I've touched on in the past, I used to preach. So I've spoken to people, like I've had to lead like a class or like something along them lines in the past. So it's not much different to me. It's just, I guess the agenda is different. I'm not selling you a belief system. Well, kind of in some way. I'm not trying to convert you or trying to make you believe in a God or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm teaching, right? I'm teaching. It's not much different. I'm kind of a weird introvert in a way, in a sense that like I'm not shy. I can talk. I can do all of them things. I know it's necessary to do all of those things. I'm introverted in a sense that if you put me in a group of people, then it's like I'm like, not comfortable here. I can't get on here. I work better in small groups of people, but I have done keynotes and it was to over like, I think my last one was to over 100 people, which
Wow.
was pretty cool. But again, like for me to try and lay out a track for where my life is going now is pretty difficult. I know in my heart like what I really want to do, but I think for me to try and put the steps together would be like super ignorant because I've never lived this life before. If I knew the steps, then I would, like
Take it.
it, yeah, do you know what I mean? People have achieved things that I want to achieve in life. And the best I can do is try and learn from their story. But to try and replicate it doesn't really make sense. So I guess the best I can do is, take in as much information from all of these people that I'm inspired by. And I believe your heart will lead you to where it wants you to go because you're putting all of this information in, trying to, follow your heart's desire. And eventually you will end up where it is you need to be. That's at least my belief. You will always correct yourself on your journey and eventually you somehow get there.
And one thing I've heard you say on other conversations is how you learned how to drive a car. I found it very interesting. Can you speak into that?
Yeah. So when I was maybe 15 or so, my brother took me out at first. My brother showed me how the pedals work. And from then on, like I would literally just imagine like the pedals moving like this. So this is a manual car, by the way. Like when you go down on the clutch, up on the accelerator, and it's like a smooth transition. And then when he went off to uni, I took his car. I took his car. I was probably like 16 or something like that. And by the time I turned like 17, I just bought a car and started driving with my L plates on. I had people that were 21 and had their license for a long period of time. So I'll just drive around. I took one lesson with an instructor because I didn't have my car that time. But when I was driving with her, she was like, "Have you done this before?" And I was like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Let me just go." So it was basically a joyride with the instructor. But when I bought my car, I'll just drive it around just to get familiar with it. And then I booked my test and done it straight away. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not the most conventional in the sense that I wouldn't try and put myself in a position where I feel like I'm competing, or
Mm.
and I haven't ever done things the traditional way. I really should have just booked lessons, man. Like I should have booked lessons and done it with.
Not booking lessons.
I could have. When on the day of the test, my mum was like, "Do you know about reverse left?" And I was like, "Who?" Reverse left round the bend or something like that. And I was like, I didn't practice that. But fortunately, I booked my test during a time when there was traffic. And they just like, yeah, go on, do whatever. Like, all I had to do was my maneuver was a bay park. But on the ride, I was perfect. So they didn't really need to see all of that reverse left, reverse right. I was competent enough, at least, for them to just say, yeah, us, gone. But I, I don't regret not doing things the traditional way, but I feel like sometimes I make life hard for myself, man. Like I probably would have had a smoother transition if I was a master's of software engineering or something like that. Like I went to school for software. What was it you studied?
But I studied bachelor's for my bachelor's was in software engineering, master's
Yeah.
computer vision and machine learning. But
See, look at that.
even that isn't, that doesn't really, it's definitely an achievement to do a master's, and I did sort of struggle through it as well. There were loads of difficulties, but I think the end goal, you can still reach to the end goal regardless. You don't have to go for the university route. It might
Yeah,
it
I
might
agree.
lack that structure. Like you
Yeah.
said, you didn't have that direction and you were blocked. When you're in a university, you have your lecturer, you have the postgrads that can give you that direction and you could turn to ask for questions. But there are still some difficulties that come with universities, including financial difficulties, right? Not
Definitely.
everyone can actually go to universities. And every time I see those student loans on my slip, I question myself. I'm like, was it really worth going to uni? Because then I come across people like yourself that are self-taught, right? But there is difficulty in every path you take.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess so. I guess so.
There is difficulty in every path to take, but the
It's,
beauty of the field is there isn't just one path. There's some
yeah. I
online.
guess it's super easy to look at someone else and just be like, yeah, I wish I'd done it like that. It would have been so much easier. Yeah, I get you.
I think
Yeah, no, I get you.
that's the beauty of the field is in there's so many different paths. So like I don't know, you can't self-learn to be a doctor and start practicing, right? Or to be a surgeon. You'll be a bit imagine your doctor's working on you and just say, I'm a self-taught. Um,
So, doctor, this is my third heart transplant. The first one I done was on a mouse.
um, but let's move into more some more personal questions. I would like to know what are some pivotal moments that sort of changed your life or the trajectory of your life?
Ooh. You know, off head, there's always two that I can think of. Um, the first one is probably when my friend passed away. We was 17. 17. Yeah, we was 17 and I was living in Essex because I was playing football. So I had to live closer to where I was. And we had an off day that day and I got a call from my friend and basically he's just been stabbed, and long story short, he didn't make it. The next moment was probably when I left church. Let me not call it church. The cult that I attended. When I left there, that was for me an opportunity for me to start life all over again. So definitely a pivotal moment when you feel like you can start over again.
Losing someone very close to you can change your perspective on how you approach life. And how did that affect you?
Oh, it wasn't good straight away. You see, when you've been exposed to a certain way of life, the only way you know how to react is what you've been exposed to, if I'm making sense. So I didn't necessarily react positively straight away, even though my intentions wasn't bad. But if I had better role models around me, I guess my reaction or my response would have probably been a bit more positive from the offset. Because when he passed away, it was just a lot of squabbles with people that used to be friends. Like people, like a lot of friendship groups were breaking up, and a lot of situations will pop up with people who I used to get along with, but now there's tension. And it was silly, like things that I look back at and I'm just like, yeah, that could have been avoided. That could have been avoided. It wasn't a straight trajectory. Like it was like up and down and going in the wrong direction and then almost getting smacked back like to equilibrium or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't straightforward. Like I definitely went the wrong way and then it backtracked and came back and then went on the right path and then ended up in a cult and then it went the wrong way and then it went like it's been up and down, roller coaster.
You always seem to self-correct in your journey. So you're clearly going somewhere.
I wouldn't say it's because I'm like reflecting and self-correcting. Circumstance will correct you if you don't correct yourself. So circumstance will arise and it will correct you, boy. So hey, I would love to call it self-correcting. I, I think now is more self-correcting because I'm a bit more aware of how things are turning out. Like I'm a little bit more self-aware than I was before, so it's a bit more self-correcting, but there's still circumstance. Like there's anomalies in life that you just can't prepare for. I never knew I was going to be made redundant. I never knew COVID would happen. What if I didn't start my blog? What if I didn't increase the frequency of my blog when I was made redundant? Would I have ever got a contract? I couldn't prepare for all of these things. So it's just being able to adjust to life's happenings, I guess. And yeah, that's been the self-correcting thing. Life would happen and you have to adjust. That's the self-correction.
You have to be adaptable. And when you say you got made redundant, you're talking about your role working out in the post office. You got made redundant during COVID from that?
Right. I got made redundant twice. Well, no, the first one can't be called made redundant. I was working for an agency in the post office when I was working as a postman. And I went in one time and they said to me that I'm surplus to requirements and that's with immediate effect. So I literally went there into work and had to go home. That motivated me to fully put my passion into learning programming and machine learning and all of those things. When I was working as an ML engineer, I was furloughed at first when the COVID outbreak occurred.
Mhm.
And during that time, I don't feel comfortable just doing nothing. So I started writing like a crazy man. I was putting out content like mad. And people started to pay attention for some reason. And from there, like by the time I got made redundant, so I was furloughed in March when COVID first started in 2020. And then in September, I was made redundant. At least I was told I was going to be made redundant. But in that time period, I probably put out like 80 articles.
Wow.
So I went mad. Like I was just
Um, you mentioned earlier that you listened to Bill Gates and someone asked him a question. If he wasn't who he was now, what would he be doing? And it was
yeah.
an NLP researcher. You actually had sort of like a career path planned earlier on into football. Could you speak into that?
All right. So people are really, really angry at me for stopping football because I was all right. Maybe some would tell you I'm being modest when I say I was all right. I was a bit less fortunate that I hadn't been seen by some bigger clubs, maybe. But a lot of people will tell you Kurtis would have gone all the way if he carried on playing football. I decided to stop because one, that was when I first begun my journey into church. So I was going on lots of trials with different clubs at the time before I like decided I was going to stop. And the first club I went to was in Nottingham, which is like miles away from London, where my church was. So my first thing was, I just started church. I've just got baptized. I don't want to move all the way to Nottingham because I know I'm going back to the lifestyle that I was living before.
Mhm.
I know people who are not religious will look at that and be like, you poo brain, what the hell are you doing? And I understand. I agree. um, but as time went on, I started to take in the situation. I was 18, which is still very, very young for career. And like in life, but as a footballer, you've only got 11 years from then, or a little bit more, maybe let's just say 13 years. So you'll retire about 31, 32, but players are playing a lot longer nowadays. If you're not in the top flight of football, you kind of almost should be thinking about what you want to do after football, put it like that, because the money you'll be earning is probably not going to carry you for your whole life, or at least the lifestyle you live wouldn't be able to be sustained from retirement at 33 till, let's just say, what's the life expectancy? Maybe 75, 85. I don't know. Um, but that's a long time period of just doing nothing. And if you haven't prepared for that, there's a problem. So I began thinking about that, and maybe that kind of put me off football a little bit. Um, I was just like, nah, it's got a short time span. If it finishes now, what am I gonna do? And the typical thing people do is to finish football and become a coach.
Mm.
I didn't want to become a coach, you know? Yeah, so I guess when opportunities started like coming up again, because when I decided I wanted to hang up my boots, I had trials. There was professional clubs that wanted me to go to their club to try out. And I was just like, nah, like this is not me anymore. So yeah.
Hey, sounds like a tough decision, but became easier.
It was tough in the beginning because, when you've built up a reputation and everyone knows you as something and then you just switch, is almost like, again, it's like starting again. Like, I feel like I've started again a few times because what I never really talk about is, before football, I used to be a fighter.
Okay.
As in, I used to fight. I went unbeaten in Taekwondo for like 4 years.
4 years?
I've got yeah, I've got so many trophies and gold medals and all of these things. British, what was it called? British nationals or whatever. I don't even know. But my coach was so adamant on me going to the 2012 Olympics back then. Like, I would have been like 16. So I feel like I've started my life so many times. I've restarted so many times. Like, and I guess it was an easier decision to know that I've done this before, so it's not that scary. But it was still like, oh yeah, people know me as a footballer. That means a lot of people might not want to know me anymore because I'm not a footballer.
It seems like whatever you, Curtis, put your mind to, you become one of the best or successful in. Taekwondo, church, or football, and now machine learning.
I mean, I appreciate that you look at it like that. I would just say I play by my own rules because I don't compete with anybody else. Like I said, I'm not a good competitor. I create my own lane so that it's just me fighting. And that way it just is easier. I probably don't have what it takes to come up against you intellectually as a practitioner of like machine learning or computer vision.
But in Taekwondo,
Well, I mean, it, yeah, but okay, I don't have what it takes to come up against you possibly, but there is somewhere that I have an advantage over you and I'll play to that strength. That's the best I can do because I'm not Nah, I don't do well with competition.
Where does that mentality come from?
Oh gosh. I think it started at football because this is the first time I'm saying this. Oh my gosh. When I was playing football, there was another centre midfielder, when I was playing like professionally. There was another centre midfielder, and I rated this guy so good, man, like so much. But he played in my position, and we're the same age. And I know at the end of every year, my club only gave out one professional contract. So as much as I rated him, I envied him. And I feel like that competition we had was so bad that it made us both worse players. Because in the end of it, none of us initially got the professional contract straight up. He got told he's not getting a contract and he had to leave. I got told I'm going to have to trial to get my professional contract extended. They gave the pro to someone else.
Wow.
So it's like we both became so absorbed in the competition between ourselves. We forgot about the greater picture, which was actually becoming professional footballers and doing it on the big stage. We were so focused on this small little area where it was just me versus him, and it was bad. And I think from there, like I after that experience, I was like, you know, I'm never gonna do that again. I'm never gonna try and compete with someone. I'll always just keep my eyes on the end goal, which is what I want to accomplish. And if that means changing myself, I'll do that rather than compete against someone else.
Okay. Wow. Uh,
He doesn't know that, and he probably wouldn't watch this. We haven't spoken in years. Like he, we wasn't friends. Put it like that. We wasn't friends. We both knew we were competing with each other, but we won't say it.
unspoken, unspoken rivalry.
Yeah, it was bad, man. We both. He's super talented at football, man. The guy is super talented, but our narrow-mindedness to just try and fight against each other blocked us and obscured the greater vision. Like we couldn't, none of us got what we wanted. He plays professionally now, which like it makes me so happy. But I that small instance taught me competition ain't for me. I was so absorbed by it.
If we take it back into machine learning, as in a couple of years ago, writing was not everyone was writing Medium articles. I used writing as one of the key component that set me apart from the competition from other candidates. But now everyone is doing some form of writing. What if you were to come into the field today? What would you do to gain that competitive advantage?
I think I would probably start to self-publish books.
Mm,
I would probably still follow the blogging format, but I would package it like and convert everything into like book and start publishing, self-publishing books. Um, because it kind of just makes you stand out more as an authority in the space if you have a book.
it does. It does. That is, I've never heard that before. That it takes a lot of confidence to, from the get go, to go in and start writing a book. But then you can then say it will take a lot of confidence to start writing articles, right?
Do the articles 100%, but put it together. Like, you know how people have like their learning, people create learning paths, learning journeys when they're learning machine learning. Create articles in that order and just package it into a book and sell the book if you want to, or give it out for free if you want to. It doesn't matter. But this is what the leaders in the field are doing. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's not how it seems. I'm probably misinterpreting. I don't know. But when I look at people like, I don't know if you know Chip Huyen.
Yeah.
She teaches machine learning system design at Stanford. But why she's created a book. And if you look at her career, she came from journalism. So it's like she's probably just written out her learning path and put it all together and realized a lot of people are struggling with the system design and just honed in on it. I could be saying it super, like making it super simplified. I don't know. But I just think we've all got something. Someone else is probably better at, making videos and being super interesting. Then find a way to make super interesting videos that people want to watch for hours on end.
There's one thing I want to touch on. We're two black men in the field. How can we get more black people into AI roles?
Man, you're going to say that this is super low.
Say it.
We kind of have to do very, very well. That's it. Because again, I'm only speaking for people that are coming from like, let me not say bad backgrounds. Let's say less privileged backgrounds. So you've grown up in urban areas and you're not well off in your family. Like some people live in council estates. Some people don't have both parents. Some people, that sort of thing. You're not as privileged as someone else who's got both parents and doing well financially. There's people I've seen on LinkedIn and their kid is 4 years old watching them program. I never had that. I can tell you that for free. I've never had anyone who's passed on that sort of information to me, but I have had people who've passed on drug dealing to me. I didn't deal drugs, by the way. The point I'm trying to make is that if we can create a career that's appealing for young people to want to get involved in, then they will get involved. Why do young people from these communities want to get involved with things such as drug dealing or want to get involved with things such as rap or football? And it's because of the lifestyle that it brings with it. Now, the lifestyle of a developer or machine learning engineer is not exciting. I think it's about to become exciting because of the way remote work is going to be. I think a lot more people are going to realize that I'm a bit more free to do what I want. And that might start to appeal to people, but it's not just about selling people on the money. If you want more young, underrepresented people to get involved with fields such as like technology, you've also got to sell the lifestyle to them. And that sounds low because it's like, yeah, but it's not just about lifestyle, it's about learning how to think. But I think that's an important part, especially in our lives, because we've come from a hard background and I feel like everyone wants to show that rags to riches. Personally, I'm not the most like materialistic person. So it doesn't come naturally to me to like show off lifestyle. But when I am traveling, because I do travel a lot because of my freelance work, people are intrigued and it gets people interested. Like they'll ask questions like, what do you do? How do I learn it? How do I do this? And I'm just like, yeah, this is what we do. This is how we do it. But it is a deeper subject than just try and invest more in schools and all of that. That would help, but you've also got to push more on this is the lifestyle you can have for yourself because that's what you're buying, really.
Yeah, it's almost like if we're to look at it from our perspective, we're going against the six figures, rappers, millionaires, footballers with the Lamborghini. You're not going to get a Lamborghini
You're not
on a machine learning practitioner's salary. But, well, you can build your own company and do a couple of things. But even the people that are involved are not really that materialistic in that sense.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that are developers that are.
With being a developer, our job requires us to be extremely logical. And when you're logical, you think things through and you realize that being the most materialistic person probably isn't the most effective strategy to reach your goals. There has to be a way that this can be sold, because when I came into the field, my expectation is if you're a software developer, you don't get girls, you don't get this, you're the least popular person. Do you know what I mean? That's at least what I thought of people. I hear the truth's coming out, isn't it? That's what you think of people who are like this. They're like, no, they're super geeks. They don't get this, they don't get that. And I'm like, well, now that I'm doing it, everything is actually dependent on you and the message you want to put out about yourself or put across about yourself. And you can certainly sell a lifestyle which is realistic and not burning your pockets, but it has to be done in a way that is in line with what you do already, because we don't have time like the footballers and the rappers and the the drug dealers and all of these things. If you think about it, they have periods of high volume and then it dies down where they can just do whatever they want. For developers, after work, you have to learn new skills to make sure you don't lose your job. um, so I mean, it's a tricky question. It's a very complex question. Like, I don't think it's just going to be like, yeah, invest money or do this. There has to be an element of lifestyle that people buy that would make more less represented people in our field want to get involved.
And I was going to say something is the football lifestyle does require a certain level of time commitment.
Right.
It's just ridiculous. With football, you have to train hours and hours and hours to become the best if you're not naturally talented. With drug dealing, there is a couple of things. You're going to have to be doing stuff and pulling the late shift and whatnot. There's hard work.
Yeah.
But if you were to transfer and just convert that into machine learning or something more tech related.
This is exactly what I mean. That the hard work isn't an issue for the people. They can put that hard work into learning the thing, but what gives the thrill at the end of the hard work is the lifestyle.
Okay.
You get it? If that lifestyle element is not there, why am I working this hard? You see, as a developer, you're probably going to put off gratification for long periods of time because it might take 5 years or 3 years for you to get that 6-figure salary and beyond. Yeah, there's a lot more to it. Like it's not just put money into this place. You really got to make someone want to do it. And to make someone want to do it, they have to buy the other things that they can see as well. And that's extremely complex. So it's hard when people ask me that because I don't know. There's so much to it that is not straightforward at all.
In the UK, the government is investing a lot into boot camps. They have this program called Skills Bootcamp. And yeah, they're putting in, I think the National Skill Fund is about £2 billion. And they've just released, I might get this wrong, maybe £60 million in January to educational providers for boot camps. So, and then if you're a resident within England, above the age of, I think, 18, and you've been recently let go of your job or you're looking to transition, you can go into one of these boot camps for free. And you can find them in universities. There might be a few information that's a bit skewed. But the thing is, how can government help make the development role or the role of a machine learning practitioner more sort of attractive to younger folks?
Right. It's a tricky one because I don't think even older folks know what machine learning is. Whenever I'm explaining to people what I do, I start by saying machine learning, and then it's like, oh yeah, what's that? You learn about machines. I'm just like, no, not quite. Just to say I'm a developer. So a lot of people, as crazy as this might sound to you and to everyone else who's listening, a lot of people don't know what artificial intelligence is, at least in my environment. So that education has to come first. People who are with me get like, they look at me like, are you all right? Like when we walk into supermarkets and, they have this facial recognition systems now and you can see it on the CCTV. So your face will get squared out in a box. I'm just like, oh my gosh, they got facial recognition. They're like, what? And I'm like, oh, yeah. So basically what this is this and this and this and this and this and this. And it's like, oh, that's so crazy. So does that mean they know who I am? Can they? And then it's like, then the conversation starts and it's like, oh, wait a minute. These guys know about my privacy, like my data privacy and da. But until people get up to speed with the right information about the field, then I don't think it's going to be easy to get the information down to kids. Because remember, like I said, I see people on social media who are telling their kids this. You can say they're more privileged people, but if there was more people in like my area, at least, well, at least where I grew up, that knew about things like this, they can talk to their kids about this. Because the most that I'm ever going to hear about, if I'm going back like a couple of years, well, not couple, but 20 years, the most I will hear about is be a doctor or, you know,
Or
be a lawyer.
or a lawyer.
You know what I'm saying? You don't really hear anything else apart from that. Curtis, be a lawyer, be a doctor. The exposure counts. More people need to know.
Before I finish the conversation, I was gonna go through a couple statements I've heard you make in other podcasts. Don't worry, they might be a bit controversial. So the first one is you said, if you're not brainwashing yourself, someone else is doing it to you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Could you speak to that?
Okay. So I've made it clear, hopefully, that I was a part of a cult. This is not like me saying it proudly. This is me saying it as I've embraced my life, like what I've been through. And part of being in a cult requires you to be brainwashed. When you leave a cult, there's something called deprogramming that you have to go through, which is unbrainwashing yourself. But the way you unbrainwash yourself is by brainwashing yourself. You see, it's kind of weird, right? And like that process kind of just brought me to a realization that this is a constant thing. I'm not going to ever stop having to brainwash myself. I'm going to continuously do it. But now the information that I feed myself has to direct me somewhere that I want to go. Because if I'm not doing that, I leave room for someone else to come in with their 2 pence, or at least their journey that they're on, to come and feed me with their information and take me on their journey. That may not be what's right for me. And that's what I meant by that. So yes, you should try to brainwash yourself, of course, positively now, not to do crazy things, to do good things. And if you're not doing it, someone else is probably at least knocking on your door about to do it to you.
Okay, so people should be on edge, or at least be aware.
Yeah, it's more about self-awareness rather than be fearful. I had this conversation the other day where I was just saying to someone, look, someone asked me, are you not afraid of what you say about your past cult life and all of this stuff? And I was like, no, why would I be? And I was like, what if they attack you? And I was like, listen, I can cross the road today and get hit by a bus, and that's it, I'm done. So much can happen that can end your time on earth, that if you're sat there just thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna, like, if you're thinking about all the bad things that can happen, nothing's gonna get done. I understand all the consequences of what can happen to me, but I'm going to push on because I believe in this. That's it. So it's like, yeah.
This leads us into the second statement you've made, and that is, if you are conscious of the message you're selling, then you're a little bit more powerful than someone who doesn't know the message they are selling, and they will buy yours because of their uncertainty.
Right. So when I was when I was following the leader of the church that I attended, the cult that I attended, I found that a lot of people will come to church with crazy ambitions. Like, I want to build this, I want to build that, I want to build this. And as soon as the leader of the church came and like imposed himself, not like forcefully, but he shared his visions, because of his charisma and how passionate and how adamant he was about his beliefs, people almost just dropped what they believed in and just followed his. And I was like, that was if there's anything that I could say about it, I don't want to talk like I condone their behavior, but I definitely see many positive traits that you can observe and learn, like that ability to have so much belief and charisma about what you're doing and what you believe in is overpowering. If you believe in something so much, other people will buy your belief. And it's crazy because you can believe absolute rubbish, like what we've seen in the cult. So you see what this is the main gist of it. It doesn't necessarily matter what you believe. If you do it and you do it like properly, people will buy into it. So take time to be aware about what it is you want to believe in, and like hopefully make it something that's going to benefit the world, at least, like not just going to be down to your selfish ambition.
Mm.
And then push that. If you push that, people will buy into it. At least that's how I observed it. Like, I've only lived a few years on this land. People with more wisdom will probably say different. So and my beliefs may change in the next 5-10 years. So
That's a good place to sort of end this conversation. But before we leave, 2 questions.
sure.
What message are you currently selling?
Oh, you bully. Gosh. I think mine is more about like right now is just about freedom. The world is advancing at a rate that is allowing more and more people to be free.
Mm.
And we don't have to do a lot of things that we used to do. I am trying to push that people should embrace freedom. We have been given a lot more opportunity because of what technology has provided for us in this day and age, that if you're able to learn the technology, you can be more free. You're not bound by certain activities and things like that. So
Yeah,
I guess that would
very
that
nice.
would be the message I want to be selling to people now.
Okay. I think we could bring that to a close. As in, Kurtis, it's a pleasure to have you, to speak to you, not only read your work, but now I'm speaking to you in person, and you have a lot of stories to tell. And I'm looking forward to seeing any content you put out there in any form, articles or videos. And hopefully in a couple months' time, we could do a part 2 of this conversation.
That's no pressure. Yeah, that part 2 would be great. And I really appreciate you reaching out to put me on your podcast. Total honor. I love your stories. I was saying I seen your stuff, but I never knew you was from the UK. And it's great to know that I've got someone who's close by that I can talk to about machine learning now, because mostly I always speak to people in the States and things like that.
All right. It's a pleasure. And thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.